Some believe God made a covenant with Abraham through Ishmael rather than Isaac. God chose Israel as his chosen nation prior to the coming of Prophet Muhammad, who fulfilled all God's promises to Abraham. After all, Ishmael was a firstborn, and both Hagar and Ishmael played important roles in the Hajj event together with Abraham. How is this argument articulated? The argument that God made a covenant with Abraham through Ishmael rather than Isaac is articulated by considering the following points. 1. Firstborn status. Ishmael was the firstborn son of Abraham, which traditionally holds significance in many cultures. Some argue that being the firstborn, Ishmael had a rightful claim to the covenant blessings. After all, in Deuteronomy 21 verses 15 to 17, it is stated that if a man has 2 wives, and both bear him sons, he should not show favoritism to the son of the loved wife over the firstborn of the neglected wife. The neglected wife's firstborn should receive double the inheritance, as he is the firstfruits of the man's virility. 2. Mention in the Bible. The Bible does mention Ishmael and his descendants. In Genesis 17 verse 20, God promises to bless Ishmael, saying, "And as for Ishmael I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful and multiply him greatly. He shall father 12 princes, and I will make him into a great nation." This is seen as evidence that Ishmael was part of God's plan. 3. Important roles in the Hajj event. Both Hagar and Ishmael played important roles in the Hajj event, where Abraham was commanded by God to leave them in the desert of Mecca. This event is seen as significant because it demonstrates the inclusion of Ishmael and his mother in God's plan. Muslims believe that Ishmael was the son whom Abraham was commanded to sacrifice, but God intervened and provided a ram instead. This event is commemorated by Muslims every year during Eid al-Adha, which is also known as the Festival of Sacrifice. 4. Fulfillment of promises through Muhammad. Some argue that the coming of Muhammad, a descendant of Ishmael, fulfilled the promises made to Abraham. They believe that through Muhammad, God established Islam as the final and complete revelation, encompassing the fulfillment of all previous covenants and promises. 5. Chosen nation prior to Muhammad. The argument suggests that Israel was chosen as God's nation before the coming of Muhammad, but it does not necessarily mean that Israel was the only chosen nation. They believe that God's covenant with Abraham through Ishmael was equally valid and fulfilled through the establishment of Islam. It is important to note that this argument is not universally accepted and is subject to interpretation and theological differences. Different religious traditions may have varying views on this topic.